America spent years destroying its own F-14 Tomcats to keep them out of Iranian hands. Now lawmakers want to resurrect one from the desert. After a war that may have wiped out Iran's remaining fleet. So has the ghost of Top Gun just outlived its last enemy? For nearly 20 years, the F-14 Tomcat has sat in the desert collecting dust, retired, grounded, in some cases literally shredded to pieces. But as of late April, the United States Senate is asking a question that few expected to hear in 2026. What if we flew it again? On April 28th, the Senate unanimously passed the so-called Maverick Act, a bill co-sponsored by Senators Tim Sheehy and Mark Kelly, that would transfer 3 F-14D Tomcats from storage at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. At least one of those aircraft, lawmakers say, should be made flight-worthy. The bill is specific, almost unusually so. It names the 3 aircraft by their bureau numbers, 164341, 164602, and 159437. It says the Navy may provide, quote, excess spare parts to make one of the F-14D aircraft flyable, provided those parts come from existing Navy stock, with nothing procured fresh. The Navy, the bill makes clear, is under no obligation to restore these jets. But it can, and that possibility alone has set off a wave of speculation. Because here is what makes the timing so striking. The United States spent years and significant effort making sure its retired Tomcats could never fly again. Between 2007 and 2009, a majority of F-14s were deliberately shredded at the boneyard. The reason was straightforward: Iran. Iran was the only other country to ever operate the F-14. The Shah of Iran purchased 79 of them in the 1970s, along with advanced radar systems and AIM-54 Phoenix missiles. After the 1979 revolution, the US cut off all military support, but Iran kept flying them anyway, sourcing spare parts through grey markets and third parties, and eventually retrofitting the jets with domestic components. Washington's response was deliberate destruction. Every scrap of a retired American Tomcat was a potential spare part for Tehran. So why in the spring of 2026 is that calculus suddenly changing? The answer, analysts believe, is sitting somewhere over Isfahan. On February 28th, the United States and Israel launched a joint military campaign against Iran. It lasted 40 days, ending in a ceasefire on April 7th. During that campaign, the Israel Defense Forces claimed in March that they had destroyed multiple Iranian Air Force F-14 Tomcats in a massive airstrike on Isfahan Airport. They also claimed that 16 aircraft belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force, stationed at Mehrabad International Airport, were struck. Before the conflict began, estimates placed the number of operational Iranian F-14s somewhere between 24 and 30. Given what happened at Isfahan and Mehrabad, experts now believe Iran has likely lost almost its entire Tomcat inventory. And if Iran no longer has a functioning fleet, the entire strategic logic behind America's decades-long effort to deny Tomcat parts to the world has quietly evaporated. There is no longer a reason to shred these jets. There is no longer an adversary who could reverse engineer them. The Maverick Act, in this light, reads less like a nostalgia project and less like a museum bill, and more like a quiet acknowledgement that a chapter has closed. The F-14 was never just a machine. It entered service with the US Navy in 1975 and became a cultural landmark in 1986 when Tom Cruise flew one in Top Gun. It was a maritime air superiority fighter, a tactical reconnaissance platform, and an interceptor, all in one airframe. The Navy replaced it with the FA-18EF Super Hornet in 2006. But the Tomcat never quite left the imagination. After weeks of intense fighting, fresh claims are raising serious questions about the true scale of US military losses in the Iran war. According to a report by the Daily Mail, satellite imagery and open-source data suggest that Washington may not be fully disclosing the extent of damage inflicted by Iranian strikes during the conflict. The report, part of the outlet's Photo Evidence series, analyses imagery from EU Sentinel satellites alongside flight tracking data and ground photographs. It argues that the US Department of War has suffered significant losses, particularly in high-value strategic assets, while limiting public visibility of the damage. Since the launch of the US-Israeli campaign against Iran on February 28th, Iranian forces have responded with waves of missile and drone attacks targeting American military infrastructure across the Gulf. Unlike conventional warfare, the strategy appears focused on disabling command and control systems, including radar and air defense networks. One key site highlighted in the report is the Prince Sultan Air Base, a major logistics hub for US operations in the region. Satellite imagery suggests that an airborne warning and control system aircraft, or AWACS, may have been destroyed during a strike on March 27th. The loss of a single AWACS aircraft is estimated at around $724 million. In addition, images indicate that several KC-135 refueling tankers may have been damaged or destroyed in the same attack. Each tanker carries a replacement cost of up to $240 million.
Looking at one airbase on just one day of the Iran war, it appears probable that the US lost over $1 billion worth of equipment.
Beyond this single incident, broader estimates paint an even more costly picture. Reports suggest that by mid-April, the US may have lost at least 39 military aircraft, with an additional 10 damaged. Among the most significant losses is the MQ-4C Triton drone, valued at up to $250 million, as well as multiple MQ-9 Reaper drones. There are also claims that advanced fighter jets have been downed or shot, including F-35s, F-15s, F-16s, and an F-18. If confirmed, such losses would mark a major blow to the perception of US air superiority. Further strain has been seen in operational setbacks. During a mission in Isfahan, US Special Forces reportedly destroyed their own aircraft, including 2 MC-130J planes and several helicopters, to prevent them from falling into Iranian hands. The report also raises concerns about transparency. It says that the US Department of War requested Planet Labs to halt the release of satellite images from the conflict zone, including Allied bases, a move that has fueled further suspicion.
The Department of War has stopped US satellite companies from publishing imagery, which shows us the damage that other sources and photographers on the ground are revealing.
While some of the imagery originates from Iranian state media and requires cautious interpretation, the convergence of multiple data sources has intensified scrutiny. As the war continues, the gap between official statements and emerging evidence is becoming a growing point of contention. Whether these claims are fully substantiated or not, they underscore a broader reality. In modern warfare, the battle over information can be just as critical as the fighting on the ground.